So Arcane Season 2 is coming out, or it's already out depending on when I post this video, and I am super excited. So I'm gonna try to learn Vi in 1 week. So for the next week, I'm gonna try to learn Vi in 3 steps. First, play some normal games, second, do some research, and third, play some ranked games. I'm doing this because I'm trying to learn every champion so one day I can make the greatest Viego video ever. So what runes and build should you go on Vi? Well, as of the making of this video, Vi kind of sucks. So I decided to try my own build, and it went really well, spoiler alert. For my runes, I went Conqueror mostly, but Hail of Blades was pretty good to burst people down with your W. My first 2 items were usually Trinity Force and Sundered Sky. It's just an amazing mix of damage and survivability that works really well with Vi's kit. After that, I built pretty tanky. Spirit Visage was amazing with Sundered Sky and your passive, Sterix was great for diving the backline with some tenacity, and Frozen Heart or Thornmail were amazing against AD comps. And I know this isn't the most traditional Vi build right now, but honestly, every single build she has below a 50% win rate, so can't really be doing much worse. Anyway, on to some normal games. Since it was my first game on Vi, I decided to try her Q Flash combo because I'm something of a professional League of Legends player. We're not gonna talk about the Q Flash, but it's fine. Who needs to land skill shots or use mechanics when you can just click on them? Am I right? And let me tell you, there is nothing like dominating a normal game of League of Legends to boost my ego on a new champion. And I know I was going to have to get better at landing these Qs, but for now, just ulting was good enough for me. And I know Vi's win rate is low, but I honestly have no idea how. Yeah, it's only been the first hour, but her ganks felt amazing. She's also a super simple champion. There are some more advanced champions like Aphelios, Zed, and Yuumi who have low win rates, but that's just because some complete bozos are trying to play them. I'm literally just dead. But Vi is definitely not on the same level as those champions. Again, I miss my Q, but I just press R and get a kill. I mean, seriously, this champion is not fair. Fuck you, holy shit. I mean, I will admit her clear speed is pretty bad, which means if she falls behind, she falls really behind. And sometimes you go in way too hard with no real way of getting out. But she just feels so strong, punching the crap out of the enemy team. Like there's no way she's the second worst jungler in the game right now. I mean, sure, I lost this game, but I was still learning the champion and trying out different builds. For example, in my last few normal games, I tried experimental Hexplate because, in theory, most of my kit revolves around my ult. And even though it worked in my head, it had a few problems. Like how its stats are just kind of weak. If I had Trinity Force, I probably would do way more damage this game and still would have had some ability haste. And also, you don't need your ult up constantly. Sometimes you just go too deep too often. Wait. But hey, win or lose, I was having a blast right now. So as usual, jumping into my first ranked game was a bit of a reality check after playing some normal games. But even though I definitely didn't get off to a great start, I knew I needed to lock in for these ranked games. I also knew as long as I didn't build experimental Hexplate, I would be an absolute menace in these teamfights. I mean, seriously, just look how tanky I am with this build. Sure, I went Abyssal Mask and sent a Trinity Force, but that's just because my team was all AP and no one was building Pen. I still did a lot of damage on my own and didn't die in teamfights. And I cannot get over how good Vi feels to play. Like, I'm not doing anything fancy, but she really feels like you're punching the shit out of people in these fights. I was also getting better at her Q Flash combo, which was helping me surprise squishy targets. Like, this Ashen Fizz really didn't stand a chance here. I mean, up until this point, my favorite jungler had been Nocturne, no question, but honestly, Vi was giving him a run for his money. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about this while writing the script, the two champions are actually kinda similar. They both have a point-and-click ult that makes the enemy ADC's life a living hell, and, well, that's mostly just that, but maybe that's why I like Vi so much. There is nothing like making an enemy regret playing League of Legends that day. Anyway, point is, I was really starting to have a good time playing Vi. We killed them all here. I mean, we killed 2 of them and stole the... Oh my god. And not trying to brag, but I was getting pretty good at her too. Seriously though, I could not stop playing well with Vi. I mean, in the past, I've struggled with junglers that can't farm well, but for some reason, Vi was just different. I mean, my whole playstyle is to farm and gank when I don't have camps up, so switching to a more gank-first jungler was something I was pretty nervous about doing. But Vi's simple kit and surprisingly high skill ceiling just caused me to fall in love with her. And again, there is nothing I like more than a champion that just dives into the enemy team with 2 options: die or win. And I mean, this isn't to say I didn't have my fair share of bad games. There were definitely games where I fell behind and played pretty badly. But that's the beautiful thing about building Vi tanky. She's a CC machine with her ult and her Q, so even if you fall behind, you're still pretty useful. I know I spent most of this video talking about how much I love Vi, but have you ever just played a champion that fit you so perfectly you just don't want to stop playing them? I mean, when I play Vi, I feel like I've been playing her my whole life, when in reality, I've only played her a handful of times. And I wasn't just smurfing to boost my ego or anything, I was literally playing against diamond junglers, even though I learned this role like 2 months ago. And I was winning! Holy shit, wait, the jungler is actually diamond. Anyway, after these games, I realized Vi is perfect. So I did some research on YouTube, and here's what I found. One is play around your passive and keep its cooldown in the corner of your eye at all times. You want to auto attack as much as you can to reduce the cooldown, and every time it's up, you want to use an ability. 2, her Q has a really low cooldown, which gives her surprisingly good mobility. Yeah, it's not Cassante or anything, but you kind of need to get in a mindset of dashing around fights as opposed to someone who just like punches whatever's in front of her. And 3, you want to auto attack reset as much as you can to maximize your W's damage and your passive shield. Basically, you can auto Q auto, you can auto E auto, and in some cases, you can even auto ult auto. Just always auto attack reset. And with that, on to some more ranked games. So after doing super well for my first 3 days, I started to play a little bit worse and understood Vi's weaknesses. And while some other junglers can just go back to farming and catch up, Vi's clear is so bad, if you just farm, you're gonna fall even more behind. So unsurprisingly, I started to lose a couple of games. That isn't to say playing Vi wasn't feeling good or fun anymore, I just wasn't as dominant as my first couple of days had been. What didn't change though is once I did get a few items if I didn't fall behind, I became a super tank that not only did a ton of damage, but had a ton of CC in teamfights. And as long as I wasn't behind, my early ganks were pretty good too. That being said, during this time I was experimenting with a slightly tankier build, which might have had something to do with my slump. So after that off day, I went back to building Trinity Force as my first or second item, and things started to pick up again. I will say though, I think Sundered Sky is such a broken item that you should probably build it before Trinity Force, but both ways can work. But genuinely, Sundered Skies is not an okay item. Like, the amount of survivability you can get from this one item makes every bruiser that builds it feel fucking unstoppable. Quick little rant here, I think that this item should probably just be removed from the game because it makes bruisers so easy. And this is coming from somebody who mostly plays bruisers top lane. It just makes it so hard to punish unless you insta-kill them in fights. Anyway, little rant aside, Trinity Force is also an amazing early item because your Q has a super low cooldown and your E has 2 charges. But again, like in this fight here, I genuinely think if I had Sundered Skies, I would have lived, which is a fucking crazy thing to say, but that just shows how broken that item really is. Anyway, I called this section the slump for a reason, because even though my gameplay did start picking up during the second day, I was still losing a decent number of my games. I do think that part of it was just the frustration after having an amazing first couple of days, and I started forcing bad fights like this one. And I will admit, even though Vi is strong, I don't think she is a 1v9 champion like some of the other junglers. Which means I probably shouldn't take kills like this from the actual carries. But in my defense, I have a video to make, and I need to make sure I get as fed as possible so I can do things like this, and eventually this. Anyway, once I was out of my slump, I actually managed to win a lot more games during the last part of this challenge. And after several days of practicing, I was getting way better with my Q flash. Even though my face kind of blocked it during this team fight, the knockup and the damage on Jinx won us the game where we were super behind. Seriously, before this fight, we were down Baron, dragons, kills, and towers, so pulling off this mechanic to actually win a game was pretty exciting. I mean, that isn't to say I won every game during the last 2 days.
It's me and Soap.
But for the most part, I was doing pretty well. I was getting better at Vi mechanically, getting more used to her mobility even though I didn't expect it when I first started playing Vi, and I was getting more confident playing Vi. Even if that confidence caused me to go a little too deep sometimes. Wait. So if you want to learn Vi, here are a few tips I personally learned that might help you out. Gank early and often. Other junglers will just out-farm you if you focus mostly on farming. Next is build tankier. I know the damage builds seem fun, but I honestly think it's what's bringing Vi's win rates way down. I mean, sure, those builds can do a lot of damage, but I think of it kind of like AP Malphite. Yeah, it can work, but tank is just usually better. You also don't always need to ult to engage. Your ult can be a great way to peel, like in this fight when I saved my Kai'Sa. Gasante can be a very slippery champion, but I locked him down so we were able to kill him, and I saved my AD carry. Honestly though, I have no idea why Vi's win rate is so low. I really expected to struggle a lot with her, but she turned out to be super strong. She's a great champion to lock down super mobile targets, or just lock down the enemy carry so your team can follow up and hopefully win the team fight. I mean, there are a few more advanced things like her auto attack resets, playing around your passive, and using your Q mobility in team fights that might bring her win rate down, but I just don't get it. She is honestly a super fun and easy champion if you want to start learning the jungle, and I had a blast playing her.